when they go to Yggdrasil, right, that was crazy because it makes me wonder, did they always plan to do that? Did they talk to anyone from the Loki team? Or, because no one says the word Yggdrasil, right? They didn't have to have so they could have just taken whatever audio they had and made the visual be what it is.
Hey, welcome back to the Breakroom, everybody. Hey. Today we're doing an episode of Inside Marvel, new Rockstars Marvel After Show. We're talking about What If Season 2. Ooh. I am Zach Huddleston. I'm thrilled to be here with friends and co-hosts Jay Washington.
Hey, I did a foot race like a dummy as a grown man past 40, popped my quad, and shouts out to Mark Morrow for beating me in the race.
Whoa.
I will openly admit you beat me, but I am in so much pain right now.
Wow.
Hi, everybody.
Is there video of this somewhere?
There will be soon.
Okay.
Oh,
we might need to do a breakdown of that on the Rockstars channel.
When you see my leg go,
oh no. And then Fleet of Foot, Brandon Barrett.
That's right. I was also involved in a foot race to the buffet. And I came in first.
That prime rib is yours.
Oh, baby.
Season 2 of What If came out over the holidays. Marvel chose an interesting release pattern there. So we had talked a little bit about
Slight dig at Marvel.
interesting.
Thanks for nothing.
So we are kind of going to catch up on the back half of the season and just talk about the season overall. We already have one Inside Marvel episode out talking about the first few episodes. Go back, rewatch that. Jessica's on that. Were you also on that?
No, I was not there.
They didn't let you in. But we kind of want to talk about the season as a whole, what this means about MCU, animation, MCU in general going forward, some of our favorite moments. Tag us in the chat with some of your favorite moments or any lingering questions. And of course, we got 9 episode breakdowns up on the new Rockstars channel. All produced by John Costa, hosted by Jessica Clemens, Eric Voss, Brandon helped with some of those, some of our writers. A lot of work went into that at a very inconvenient time of the year. So thank you to everybody who worked on those. Check those out if you haven't already, or maybe if you're still catching up on What If episodes, you can go back and those breakdowns are there for you. And real quick, before we get into it, we want to plug our merch partners at nerdriot.shop. I'm wearing the evil Doctor Strange cool shirt design. Brandon has a fun...
this is like the Sakar cart, go-kart
wacky races kind of thing.
There's a better look at it.
Jay has the same shirt in
and that's the one on the screen that you see.
Yeah.
And then there's the Loki, God of Stories.
Oh, we still got that.
Ooh, look at that.
Yeah, the God of Stories shirt still right here.
Yeah, all of these designs and some fun Echo and the Marvels and all the kind of properties you're enjoying, all of those are up at nerdriot.shop. Check it out. Get yourself, hey, maybe you didn't get the gifts you wanted this holiday season, so get yourself something.
Yeah, what if you didn't get anything at all? That would be me.
You didn't get a single gift,
No,
Jay?
I didn't get a single gift.
Dang, Jay.
Wow.
I'm serious. I got nothing this year.
Wow.
But my kids got everything they wanted out of me.
Oh, what a guy.
I got nothing.
Okay. Kids, get on it. Papa J needs something. You gotta have something in the stocking.
I have nothing.
Okay, so check out nerdriot.shop. Maybe buy something for Jay. And don't forget to subscribe to all the broader channels on the New Rockstars network. New Rockstars, Breakroom, Deep Dive. Let's get into it really quick.
Yeah. Let's do a quick recap of What If episodes 4 through 9. In this stretch of episodes, we saw quite a few things. We kicked off with the Lost episode from season 1. That was Iron Man landing on Sakaar, dealing with the Grandmaster, having some wacky races. Then we saw the episode with Hela and Wenwu. It was great to see Hela come back. Love Hela.
More Shouts
Hela.
out. More Kate
Hela.
Blanchett.
Yes.
I'm the goddess of... How many times we need to hear, I'm the goddess of death?
Yeah. She was great. We were just talking before the show how funny she was that episode. Like,
They gave her a lot of
Give her
good
all
lines.
the jokes.
Yeah.
They gave her the jokes.
Great. We even got Morris back. Come on. We got, in the 5th episode, we got an original character in Corti defending the Mohawk people from Spanish conquistadors. Cohorti. And we followed Captain Carter as she failed to reunite with Steve in her timeline, and once again failed to reunite with him in 1602.
In any universe,
well,
Captain Carter and Steve don't get hooked up.
There's one where they get their happy ending. We'll talk about that in a minute. And the finale wrapped all the things up with Captain Carter teaming up with Cohorti to stop Strange Supreme, who once again is trying to bring back Christine. I mean, what a piece she is, huh? God,
Say the lie.
You would destroy everything to get her back. Come on.
But you know what the question should have been? I was really upset they didn't ask. What if it's not what she wanted? Like if you tell
Yeah.
her, "Yo, I had to bring you back," blah blah
Right.
blah, and I didn't want this.
Yeah,
Like,
day 1 it's a lot of fun. Day 100 when you're like, we're out of orange juice again. It's like, bitch, I up into the universe for you. Don't get on my ass about the orange juice.
God damn, Brandon, did that hit a nerve?
I'm just saying, I try and get orange juice.
Okay.
And sometimes I forget. Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
Sometimes I forget.
Let's start with the finale and work backwards,
Okay.
kind of, because especially the finale, much like season 1, tied in a lot of
Sure,
elements
yeah,
from
yeah.
the season. This is an interesting show. I can't think of another show that's like this, where it has a mix of serialized and episodic content, right? Some of these episodes just seem like complete one-offs, like the Nova episode or the Tony on Sakar, right, where they seem to be unrelated to anything else. And then some are kind of building a narrative a little bit.
Peggy,
right?
Captain Carter being like the biggest through line, right? For
Yes.
both seasons.
Right.
Like we started with her in the first episode of the first season, and she comes back multiple times. And we haven't seen variations of her. We saw it in Multiverse of Madness.
Live action.
We
yeah.
saw a live action variant that got killed pretty quickly. But this one has been through a lot, can see the Watcher, can hear the Watcher, can talk to the Watcher. So she's a Nexus being. Much like the only other ones we know of, right, are her. Groot did it. Baby Groot did it in season 2 of Baby Groot. Strange Supreme can talk to the Watcher and hear, and also Ultravision could talk to the Watcher and hear the Watcher and see the Watcher. Maybe She-Hulk can. I don't know. That hasn't been tested. Maybe Deadpool
Stan
can.
Lee,
Stan Lee
in that
was
one
sure can.
post-credit scene.
Stanley was talking to
yeah.
Watchers. Yeah. So it was like a very intense episode. But you're right. Like they used her to like kind of tie in most of the storylines.
I like this, and it didn't even strike me until I watched Eric's breakdown that the titles of these episodes are a little deceptive.
Right. Yeah.
The title of this was "What If Strange Supreme Intervened." Nobody would watch this episode and then be like, "What should the title of this be?" It'd be that because I think it's an episode so built on some twists they don't want to give that away.
Right.
In the title.
Yeah, because
right?
when I read it at first, I was like, "What if Strange Supreme intervened?" I was like, "What if he took the place of the Watcher?" Like
Yes.
that's what you think.
Yes.
But then you watch it, you're like, "Oh, intervened in another way." And I think the thing is like the stories they try to give you this keep you guessing.
Yeah.
Because it's like with the MCU, we kind of like, all right, this has to go this way, has to go that way, has to go this way. With What If, it's like, where is this going? What is this going to lead to?
Yeah.
So I think that's been the thing they've been doing with these. That's the one thing I give credit for because you can watch each one whether you like all of the episodes or not, but you're like, I have no idea where this is going.
Yeah. And I thought like the twist, I saw the twist of like, oh, she's being sent to get Cohorty. I kind of saw that coming maybe a little bit before she showed up and the blue lightning bolt is dashing around the forest. I don't know that I guessed even though there was some foreshadowing that the Strange
Was still a bad guy when he's like, cross my heart.
I liked that twist. Yeah.
Especially when he got those eyes that's dark, like he ain't been asleep and ain't had nothing but coffee.
Right. Well, I think sometimes, especially with like animation, I think it's easier to be a little more deceptive. Because I think your mind is like, oh, it's like for kids. He's not going to be dark. He's good now. Like you kind of like don't see. I think it's easier to fake someone out in animation because you don't see it coming as easily because you assume the story's a little simpler than it ultimately
But
is.
do you see this as for kids? I don't see What If it's because you just said it for kids, and I'm like, I don't see What If as being specifically for kids. Because like I think
No, it's probably kids safe. I
Yeah.
think it's like relatively family
They give
friendly.
it like
There's nothing too dark.
a
but
harder rating, doesn't it?
It's
Isn't
not
it like a
TVMA.
It's not
no,
TVMA,
maybe
but-
13 or whatever. Yeah. Though how speaking of not kid friendly, how great would it have been if the forge that he's feeding the heroes and the villains into is like a literal meat grinder?
Yeah. I mean, that was like a little silly, right? When they're all falling and then they go back up and then they fall again and they go back up. I was like, this is a little goof. Goofy.
It is very goof. But
They went for the show mass murder.
Well, no, and AC Bradley recently did an interview with
a producer on the show,
right,
writer,
who was like, I'm done now, which was like kind of surprising, but also said that like, because they wrote these years ago, both season 1 and season 2, I think they were kind of writing at the same time and then they got split up and yada, yada, yada. But she had said that like, when we were writing these, it was like in the middle of the pandemic. So like we didn't want to be as like dark and gloomy and like end of the world because we were like kind of living through it. And we were talking about like the first season was a little darker, I think. of
Yes.
What If. And this season, like most of the episodes were pretty.
Yeah.
They ended in a much lighter place.
And even in kind of zooming back to the Hela and Wenwu episode, right? Like two villains,
yeah.
you know, to different degrees.
They're
of
redeemed
villainy,
completely.
Are completely played as good guys throughout that entire episode, right? And even like technically the antagonist of that episode is Odin. And he's not played that bad, right? Like,
I mean, but Odin is an antagonist. When you realize,
bad
like,
dude.
No matter what, we always keep thinking the Allfather is this great dude.
Yeah,
you start
yeah.
listening to these stories like, this is a terrible
That's
dad.
late stage all fathers.
That's late stage Allfather. But
but keeping on, I know I'm dragging us all over the place, but staying on the finale.
Okay.
So like, I think one of the last images of the finale, and maybe one of the ones that could have the biggest impact going forward, is when Captain Carter and the Watcher kind of hanging out, recapping our fun experience. It was the friends we made along the way. And he's like, oh, and by the way, here's Yggdrasil, right?
Yeah, that was wild. It started with like it felt like the end of the Matrix 3, right? When the world is rebuilt. I remember that. The world's like rebuilt, and it's like the Oracle speaking to either Neo or the Architect. And they're like, now everyone has a decision. And it felt very similar like that, because they were in a park. The sky was pretty, all that
Christine
good stuff.
was on a bench.
Christine's on a bench in that one too. Neo did it all for Christine, because she's that good. You know what I'm talking about? But when they go to Yggdrasil, right, that was crazy, because it makes me wonder, did they always plan to do that? Did they talk to anyone from the Loki team? Or... because no one says the word Yggdrasil, right? They didn't have to have the... so they could have just taken whatever audio they had and made the visual be what it is. Producer John raising his hand. He has a thought.
My understanding from the Loki team is that imagery wasn't even planned for Loki season 2.
Okay.
Something they decided in post and didn't add it until February or March of last year, after Loki had already sort of been locked.
Sure.
And again, my understanding is What If season 2 would have been completed before Loki season 2, so it would have had to have been sort of a last minute.
Like add in.
addition.
I mean, they could
It's
do that
possible the
though.
old
Yeah, it's
shot
6 seconds of screen time,
Yeah,
right?
totally.
Yeah.
It's possible the old shot was something similar to like the ring around the Citadel that we
Yeah,
saw in
yeah.
the first
There was
season, the one
something they
that
look
updated
at,
it,
right? But I think it was very smart to tie it into that, because they've always said, they said this before the season 1 premiered, that like this is canon, you know, that takes place in different universes, but this is canon, and any of these characters can come over. We thought we were going to see Jeffrey Wright as the Watcher at something last year. There was like a big rumor that he was going to show up in live action, maybe Guardians 3 or something like that. I remember that being like a rumor for a while.
Do
that
they
he
give
was going to show
do
up?
they give him a bulbous head?
Hell
yeah.
yes.
Hell yeah.
I liked it. I liked it for a number of reasons. Again, connecting the animation with the live action is
Right.
always kind of fun. We're coming like back-to-back series, seeing that. And like Marvel has this thing where we have timelines, we have multiverses, we have dimensions, right? There's so many different things. And kind of like not saying they're all the same, but kind of finding some connective tissue there is kind of nice.
Well, and you bring up a great point, right? All these different things. Yggdrasil that we saw lives within the 616, right? It's not all the multiverses tied into that. It's just all the timelines of the 616.
The Yggdrasil from Loki, would you consider that to be a universe though?
To my mind,
would you consider that part of TVA to be part of any universe itself?
it's outside of space and time.
So it wouldn't be in any universe.
Right. But it's holding together the 616, because that's what the TVA was doing. It was just working on the 616.
You sure? There's been this constant battle between.
I know.
Is it 616 or is it 19999?
Get Kevin Feige in here.
I'm going with Imam Vellani's belief that it is the 19999.
Well, if it is that, like what the TVA that we knew it
Yes.
as the artist formerly known as Kang, that he was running, right? Like that was all just to hide in the 19999 whatever you want to call it. That TVA, the loom's destroyed. Loki steps in, grabs all these timelines that all exist within the 616.
Okay.
19999.
Yeah.
They're not the other multiverses. He's not holding on to Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. He's only holding on to Tom Holland's Spider-Man as like multiple different variants living in different universes.
Okay.
So my question is, did the Watcher bring Captain Carter to like, hey, I'm going to show you the 616.
He probably did.
I'm going to show you this.
That is Loki's tree.
That's Loki's
He's
tree.
sitting there on his throne.
Yeah.
Yep, there it is.
And it's something that, these are the
glowing
visuals,
green.
right? Like, it's supposed to be that tree.
Yeah, that is the same tree. That's the exact same tree.
And there's no way that, like, the two visual sides didn't get together at some point and
clearly.
be like, we want this to be the same.
Shit, it might have been the What If team that designed it for Loki.
Yeah.
Because like you said, it was supposed to come out before. Remember, things switched around, so.
And I love the idea that Eric pointed out in his breakdown of this episode that was like, Loki's not alone in that tree now, right? The Watcher can come stop by, and maybe now he's talking to Captain Carter. And like any other Nexus being can come and hang out with him.
Yeah, and how that could impact things going forward as we
are they a team for Secret Wars
coming up? Eric kind of posited maybe this is the beginnings of Team Loki, right? Like Team Loki might have Captain Carter on it, right? Maybe other characters that might get pulled from the What If kind of universes. That's cool as hell if that's possible.
I'm just trying to think, do I want, if like characters like that getting pulled, like what characters would I want pulled for that Secret Wars team?
Oh,
well, speaking of which,
yeah.
Beware the Dread says, I have one idea that maybe Peggy Carter might be a leader of one of the teams in Secret Wars. There's always people going head to head, and she seems to be at the forefront of any multiverse issues now. We know Monica is in the X-Men universe. So what if Secret Wars was a mix of Avengers versus X-Men, since we know mutants are coming?
That's what I always said it did. Yeah, Secret Wars is Avengers versus X-Men.
Yeah,
like the X-Men trying to save their
because
universe.
the X-Men because the Avengers, in the X-Men's universe are like the Squadron Supreme. They're evil to them.
Oh, okay.
So when Monica's like, no, the Avengers are good, according to Beast and Binary, and I'm like, no, we've had to stop them. So when these rifts start showing the real people together, they're like, yo, we got to fight them. These mutants are something brand new. You get a big blue dude come through, tell me some, hey, how you doing? You want to just go have some coffee? Yeah. You ready to fight?
Hey, baby, I hear the blues are calling. That's salad and scrambled eggs.
But you get what I'm saying? So like those different things like that.
Well, and they both want to preserve their home planet.
Yes.
I think like as evidenced by the 1602 episode, incursions, as have been established in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, give you a great excuse to have people fight each other that would not normally fight each other, right? No, my world's being destroyed because you're here. Yeah. Well, my world's being destroyed because you're here, right? Like, and then we can have, in theory, if we get the opportunity in Secret Wars, if it is kind of a good guys versus good guys matchup, which we have not gotten to see since Civil War, right?
Sure, right.
And it's not necessarily a Doctor Doom team versus a good guys team or whatever, right? That could be really cool. Other possible implications for seeing Yggdrasil on screen there?
I mean, just that, like, it's definitely going to come back again. It's not the end of that. I don't think, and we all assume that's not the end of Loki's story.
You brought it up earlier. Peggy probably actually gets to see the happy ending.
Yeah.
Because remember, there's a whole lot, it'll always go back to this one thing, and that's in Endgame. When Steve is sitting on the bench, and he had a life, and Sam asked him, do you want me to tell you about it? Do you want to tell me about it? And he says, no, don't think I will. We get to see that life that Nomad had. Because I think that's who it is in that whole time. Then we can probably see the Red Guardian. Then Peggy can see herself and Steve have a moment. There may be kids involved, all these different things. The tree can show her all this stuff. And then she realizes at one point, when she goes to that world, she can't stay in that world. Because she would rather replace herself, but it's like the Watcher's like, yo, you can't stay here.
And the lesson she just learned from Strange,
Yep.
right? Like, you can't have the thing back, right?
Yep.
Like, you have to let it be. And maybe you get to, like, peek in on what it could have been, but you don't get to live that life.
don't get to live it.
You're this Peggy, not the other Peggy.
The happy life that Peggy and Steve get to live, and I'm going to be serious here, it happens in Rogers the Musical, which they did at Disneyland. There's a great breakdown on the new Rockstars channel that Hector Navarro did of the show. But the show ends with them using the time stone.
I just want to see how you should pay attention.
They use the time stone to go back to like pre-war, and they stay there. They don't, and it happens before the events of Endgame even happen. It happens very early on, and they sneak away and they go there, and those two get to live a happy life.
Speaking of
the
time
musical
stone,
version,
Avengers 1602, Steve is green because the time stone has to send him back. He's the anomaly.
The
he's
Forerunner,
the
I think they call him.
He's the Forerunner.
Yes.
He's the incursion that was messing up everything, and then he realized, oh, I can't be here. So these little things we're talking about could all add up, again, leading to Secret Wars.
And the irony, too, I don't think Eric pointed this out, but that, like, Peggy and Steve are these literal star-crossed
Cross lovers.
Yeah.
In the episode that's all about Shakespeare plays, right? Like
Right.
they're Romeo and Juliet, but across time and dimensions and
How
alternate
bad
realities.
does Hydra Stomper Steve smell? Does he smell?
Oh my God. He smells like all the
imagine?
depression.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like when he leans forward a little bit and like the neck cuff comes a little loose.
Also,
It's just like,
when it opened, all of a sudden the room was like, what the hell is this?
you're talking full body chafe,
Yeah.
right? There's not an inch of
Does
his
his
body
body
from the
move?
chin
Do you think
down.
he has-
Body shape.
do you think he has muscles or like his body inside is just like spaghetti noodles?
Yes.
And the machine is doing
It's
all
like
the moving.
Krang body. Yeah.
Oh, it must smell so bad.
Oh, man.
Peggy,
Oh,
this
it
is
must smell so
You know what
bad.
this smell is, Peggy? This is World War Love.
If they pull they bring back Chris Evans for Secret Wars. If they're gonna pull that, how great would it be if it's just like an army of like bad Captain Americas, like evil.
I thought you was gonna say an army of smelly Captain America.
Well, we have Hydra Stomper. They put his little head in there, but then you get you get that 1602 time displaced Steve, who's like pissed now. He's like,
do you think-
I got screwed, or
Who do you
like,
think is the worst smelling MCU character?
oh, the worst smelling MCU
I mean,
character.
Man Thing is the easy.
That's
But
easy.
he might. But I think he smells natural.
He
I think
smells like the environment.
I mean, like Red Guardian probably stinks.
Yeah, Rick Guardian
Red
don't like he
Guardian
babes.
stinks. Bad diet.
He's been in a Soviet prison.
Soviet
Yeah.
prison.
I do not
like-
bathe with soda.
Yeah, he stinks.
I don't want to pick up soap.
He probably smells bad.
Who else? Can
Which of the Avengers smells the worst? I mean, Bruce.
Yeah, what does
he's
Hulk
blasted
smell
through
like?
clothing.
Yeah.
You have to imagine just the
Thor might
metabolism
stink.
of the.
Thor
No,
might smell
Thor
bad.
Thor looks like he bathes.
Yeah, but he's like a god, right?
Yeah, but
Like-
you assume that people on Asgard want to smell like we smell like on Earth. Like they might just.
But he
stink.
probably has the finest of pine wood scents.
No, that's like a good,
Yeah.
earthy.
good earth tone.
I imagine Tony's the best smelling.
The
Just
suit has
like-
got cologne.
a lot of
in it.
cologne. Yeah.
and just
It's Bruce.
wealth.
It's
you know?
Bruce. Because think about it. Here's why it's Bruce. He hulks out, right? All of a sudden now he's big, green, and sweaty.
yeah.
So he's got these sweaty Hulk balls that when he shrinks back
Yes.
down, all he does is put clothes back on.
Yes, and think about the sweat from beach ball size balls. It's
Exactly.
the same. When it goes down
same
to
amount
golf
of
ball
sweat.
size
The
balls,
sweat amount is
the
still
same amount
there.
of sweat.
Same amount of sweat is still
sweat's
there.
there.
We figured it out.
sweat's
Bruce
there.
is the smelliest Avenger. Okay, so other potential, whether this is in Secret Wars or kind of like we saw in the 818 sequence in Multiverse of Madness where Captain Carter showed up, like other characters that have appeared in What If that we think might show up in live action MCU. I mean, there's already been some people talking about Cohorty.
Yeah, I imagine we'll see Cohorty and Echo, right?
I
like
mean,
some weird vision
some
or
variation
something.
Or
of
maybe
her.
like the art on the wall, like she's a
Yeah.
legend
Yeah,
or
she's a
something like
legend.
that. Yeah.
Because we're seeing the actual tribe in Echo. So I
Yeah.
wouldn't be seeing like she's part of the legend of lore from the elders.
Yes.
Because it was so
And,
long ago.
and it is like she's a Mohawk. What is Echo? She's a
Choctaw, I
Choctaw, I believe.
yeah.
So maybe there's some slight differences there, but you could see like maybe in MCU canon she's become like a general indigenous kind of like
Right.
Legend.
legendary figure.
Well, and
yeah.
I believe they are intending to introduce some sort of mystical element in Echo that doesn't exist in the comics that they're going to kind
which
of
can be
put into
Cohorty.
the show.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which can
yeah.
be Cohorty.
Yeah, I think they have a good chance. I mean, I still think. I guess we assume Strange Supreme is.
But he's already
capital D dead now.
But no, you got to remember he exists because that's who he was at the end of Multiverse of Madness.
right, but that wasn't like the same one. It was like an evil Strange, but not the same. And they killed that Strange
Did they?
in Multiverse of
No,
Madness.
because remember
It's
his
in the
eye-
music notes.
No.
Oh, his eye opened up. Again.
Eye opens up and he goes with Clea through the portal.
That's right.
So he's not gone technically.
He could still be there.
Who else is there? We already got all
I mean, the next time we see Happy Hogan, if we ever see Jon Favreau portray that
Right.
character again, do we see a little purple?
Do we get a freak?
we already got a World War Hulk situation about to happen with Captain America.
Yeah.
Where you're finna get all these different Hulks.
I mean,
anyway.
AC Bradley did say in an interview with IGN that when they approached Jon Favreau to do What If, like his whole thing was like, I will do it, but I want to. He brought up the freak. He was like, I want to establish that Happy Hogan is like the freak or something like that, and he was like wanted to put in this
He
like
doesn't just want to
very
be
intense
the
character
dopey
thing.
gopher. from
No,
the
I
other
guess
characters.
that was his thing. I mean, Happy Hogan is a Skrull. They didn't confirm it in Secret Invasion, but clearly that show didn't have time to get to everything. Happy Hogan is a Skrull.
he's been a scroll this whole
The
time.
whole time. He's a Skrull that Nick Fury planted a long time ago to stay close to Tony Stark. He's been a Skrull the whole time. He's a good Skrull. Laser Skull.
Well, and I like kind of like the evil Strange we saw in Multiverse of Madness. It's never confirmed that was the exact same one.
I believe they've like referred to that one as like Sinister Strange,
Yes.
and the Strange and What If is
Strange
Supreme.
But if anything, it's just like, it doesn't have to be the exact same character. Just like that Captain Carter is not necessarily the exact Captain Carter we've seen in What If. It's just kind of introducing the concepts of characters.
Well,
or
and that like
variations.
Doctor Strange is usually not great. He's a man of hubris that goes the wrong way. Like
And dark
838
arts?
Strange
He's
was
a dark
bad.
art, yep.
Dark arts?
Like he's a problem in every universe.
We've always said this when it came to variants and multiverses and things like that. Like you just were saying, it doesn't have to be completely different. There can be just one little bitty thing. So we can have Strange Supreme, Multiverse of Madness, Evil Strange, regular Stephen Strange, and a bunch of them all come. We can have all these different variations. It's just I'm still literally thinking what characters from What If, and I'm like, besides Cohorty, I think that's really it because we've seen everybody else pretty much.
Yeah, there weren't a ton of new characters or big variations.
I mean,
It's
I
like,
want 6-shooter Loki from the
that
last
was-
episode,
or-
whatever
or
Loki that
freaking
was.
Odin Hulk or whatever.
yeah, the
at
Hulk with the
end,
armor.
With the armor.
the giant-
It's very cool.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit more about that in the finale before we get on to naming some favorite episodes and favorite moments. Because my favorite moments, I mean, the kind of the prison break fight sequence was really fun.
Yeah, that was fun.
And just the chaos of like, you're trying to, who's that? And what,
Oh, you
who's
talking about
that?
in the gym things that he had? Yeah.
Yeah, and then when they get all broken out and they're fighting each other, and then the constant leveling up fight of Cohorty and Sharon or Peggy versus
Strange.
Doctor Strange, where like, hey, take our weapons and use that.
Right.
And they're using all the Infinity Stones against each other, and I thought that was a fun sequence that like would not have worked as well in live action, but they're taking advantage of what you can use animation for really well. I thought that was a really fun sequence. That might have been my favorite moment from the series.
Well, you saw so much with Cordy, like actually picking up Milnor without picking it up.
Right.
Like she had it just elevated, and Milnor was like, I guess I'm coming to her today. Like, I guess is what I'm doing. You having Hela's crown have the same power as Milnor in a sense. Having Odin do the whole spell on it, whoever is worthy of mercy, blah, blah, blah. Doing all those different things, and with the rings, how the rings operate, you can play so much, but for me, the best was like watching what the Infinity Stones can do. Because like the armor and stuff like that, how you have it on Killmonger at first, Peggy picks it up. I saw somebody complaining, was like, how did Peggy pick up the stones with her bare hands? Did you not see
Everything she's just done?
everything she's just done? Like, she can pick up them stones. But at this point, though, we keep saying it, Peggy Carter, by this point in What If, is a Nexus being.
Yeah.
That's how she can pick up the stones. Ladies and gentlemen.
I did like that fight. I mentioned I loved like the Hela Odin Wenwu fight. That was great.
Yeah.
I really liked the episode with the 80s Avengers, like Peter Quill coming back to Earth. Like that was really fun. And like I think in current timeline MCU, it's tough to do something like that, to be like, oh, also in the 80s there were Avengers and they snuck around and nobody noticed it.
It would take so much.
It's so much retconning, but like
yeah.
that was so fun having like, I think as a narrative challenge of like, okay, who have we established that's around in the 80s?
Yeah.
That could have like come together and like put a team
is
together.
That in the same way that Marvel Zombies is kind of like a spin-off series where you're going to get like a whole series off of like one episode. Is that the episode you would most want to be its own spin-off series? 80s Avengers.
Yeah, especially because if in that world where like they kind of deprogram the Winter Soldier early, keep going. Like if Howard Stark never dies, Tony never becomes Iron Man, right? Like Tony's just like a fuck off kid and like never wisens up, and like maybe Howard becomes like old man Iron Man, or something
And there's
like
more
that.
vibranium at that point,
Right? And
because now they're a
they
team.
have a better team, and they're
There's
like
way
sharing.
more
Yeah,
vibranium.
Wakanda's less isolated.
Yes,
and,
Wakanda's way less isolated because T'Chaka was like, all right, I'm a part of this, realizing how big the threat was. Now he's like, well, Stark, or even Pym, hey, this is what you really need. Here's more vibranium.
Yeah, I think it's a fun way, in the same way that we might be, Marvel seems to be setting up a Young Avengers where it's like younger versions of a lot of your favorite heroes, to kind of do old Avengers.
Yeah.
Like
Give it to me in an 80s style font,
Yes.
vision. I wanted to look like that on the screen. I don't want it to look like current day.
Right.
Have it
And
look like
recast everybody.
have it like Masters of the Universe, like
Yes,
style, that
like
old.
that.
Yeah, that would
I
be
want
really
it to
fun.
look that way. Because this way you'll get a real good feel of it.
Yeah, that might be it. That's a good pick. I mean, the 1602 was a lot of fun, and I think they could have even more fun once they get away from like there's a rift and we've got to solve
Yeah,
it.
it was too, I wish it was more standalone and less
Yeah.
like, oh, we're tying all this in.
We were just talking about it with the yellow jackets. Like I didn't know.
Yeah, how are they shrinking?
Like just tell me how this technology works.
like I guess it's. Are we to assume there's magic?
Well,
in
there's
this
definitely
world?
magic
Wanda's
because
there
there's
doing
Wanda,
magic.
but like,
PIM particles are a whole thing.
yeah, I thought they were gonna explain like, oh, we stole some magic potion.
It's gummy bear juice or whatever.
Oh, hell yeah! The gummy bears, they're bouncing
God damn
here,
it,
they're
Zach.
bouncing there, they're bouncing everywhere.
everywhere.
Gummy bear juice, ladies and gentlemen, on the break room. Gummy bear juice.
Prospero, the best gummy bear, the strongest gummy bear. Let's go.
Speaking of Shakespeare,
That's right.
I think like my Loki pick, it was the first episode, and it didn't have any impacts on any of the rest of the episodes. But I could watch a Blade Runner,
That was great.
That was great.
Gamora just being a cop on Xandar and like Underworld.
I mean,
and
Nebula.
Nebula, thank you. You know, dealing with the gangsters and the lawless and the whatever, the underworld.
How are the duck being stuck on Xandar with the walls closed was great. I mean, that was such a cool moment of like Xandar just being like, nope, we're out. We have a huge shield. We
We're
lock
done.
it
Bring
in.
down yep.
We don't want to participate
And
anymore.
I would love to see, like, again, a version that doesn't end like that episode ends, where it's like, oh, now we're free, everything's back to normal. Where it's like, no, they have to stay closed
Yeah.
off. Like the impact that has, being like basically embargoed from the rest of the universe. When you have other species are here, people that have been other places but they can't leave, and like what that does to a society. And I think that could be a cool thing. To
Howard
explore.
isn't Howard running things like he's a bigger
Yes.
Howard the Duck as a crime boss is the greatest concept ever because he's a duck, but he keeps getting higher and higher elevated because now he's the only one with all these connects. Yeah, I gotta wait and sneak past the shield to get you what you
Yeah.
want. You want that? Okay, I got that. I think that Blade Runner Sin City type vibe can work perfectly. Even pull in like the Gamora maybe. Have a little something happen. You don't have to have a full thing with the two of them, but keep having Nebula be this cop.
yeah.
And things keep happening. And again, the Watcher can play along with that too. Because now we're building this new type of Nebula.
I thought it was really fascinating to go to the Red Room City with all the weird killer robots and like stuff like that. There's something there. We didn't get to spend enough time there, and I don't know that I fully grasped it. But I still am a little like empty-bellied from Black Widow, and I kind of want that world explored a little bit more.
I wish you could see John with John.
Okay, not John's favorite
This is,
episode.
I mean,
Fair.
this is like one of those.
Yeah,
what ifs,
threw you
right?
under the
Like,
bus, John.
we all experienced Black Widow at home in like weird ways, and it was a weird time for everyone. The movie, yeah. And so it's like, even now, when you go back and watch, if you watch it now, you're like, this is like way different than I remember.
Well,
it.
and-
Solely because like your experiences around it have changed so much.
Well, in like, I mean, honestly, talk about like 80s Avengers. I wouldn't mind seeing just a Black Widow prequel series. I want to see her back when she was Breaking Bad.
Right.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Well,
Like,
and there's-
doing hits
yeah.
on different people.
That's what I
and-
wanted. I need to know her past story. Like, we have no more Ike Perlmutter. Give me like this Black
Yeah.
Widow's this spy. She's doing all these things.
Yes.
Remember, she had to be sterilized, unfortunately, to do what was necessary. So her like sleeping with all these people and fighting her way, just
Yes.
changing
And
history.
her with Iron Maiden,
Yeah.
Milena, and
like killing a
Guardian.
kid, she didn't kill the kid. It's revealed at the end of the movie. Spoiler alert. But like when the movie was going, I was like, oh, they had the guts to have like the Black Widow kill a kid, you know, as part of like her mission.
Yep.
For the good guys.
Yes.
Yep.
For
And
Shield.
to be like a true Mission Impossible
Yeah.
or James Bond or whatever, just like a spy thriller, international espionage, something that like we thought we might get a little bit of in Secret Invasion. It turned out we didn't really
Yeah.
get much of that there.
And it's
think
a
'cause-
fun idea too, the Soviet Union having like access to the same things the US government did in this universe of like heroes and super soldier serums and all that stuff. Like, yeah, I want to see more stuff in the past. I want to see more Red Guardian, more Isaiah Bradley, more like what was going on in all these events way
I mean,
in
we
the
got so
past.
much of the espionage when we had the Winter Soldier, and so
Yeah.
that's the one thing I think we've all been chasing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because like you just said, we thought we were getting this Secret Invasion. I'd want that in Black Widow. It's just that the Winter Soldier one, what that vibe is of that movie. If you give me that with a Scarlett Johansson back in the early aughts or whatever it is, whether it's 90s, early 2000s, before she joined S.H.I.E.L.D., and we're watching her do all the stuff around the world, because remember, we still want to know what Budapest is.
Yeah.
You know, with the thing with her and Hawkeye. So you get to see all that. And then how did the Red Room go from being the Red Room to this elevated city?
The city in the sky.
What is that from?
I get fly
It's from
twice,
my
is that
Red Room
musical?
musical
Okay.
called City in the Sky.
City in the Sky.
I'll tell you how they did it. The Soviets let their people starve, and they built a flying.
okay.
All right, that's about
And then
it.
their economy collapsed.
You're not wrong.
I'm not wrong. I'm not wrong.
It's history.
John, were there any other nominations for like spin-off series folks want to see or favorite moments or episodes?
I've got a lot of questions. People are asking you guys what, this is Ryan Painter is asking what your favorite episode of the season was.
Favorite episode, full stop?
I think I'm going finale.
You like the finale?
Only because like I thought it like pulled together other moments and episodes that maybe at the time I was like, I'm a little underwhelmed, but then like kind of justifying their existence by kind of pulling those threads together at the end. And I thought like just those action sequences particularly like hit me the best. Yeah.
The finale was good. I did like the Cohorty one a lot. That was fun. I really liked that. What if Peter Quill attacked the Avengers?
Yeah.
Like that was just really fun. And then the moment when I realized like, oh, Hope Van Dyne and Peter are like the same age and they're meeting as kids. Like that was like very fun.
Yeah.
I don't know. I had a lot of fun with that episode. Some of the fighting was like, meh. Bill Foster was like tied down too much. Let the man be a giant. Let the man be a giant.
Yes.
Because that's
Have Hank Pym say, I just saved $8. Just weave it in. Weave it into the show. I love how they still hated each other.
Yep.
It was so much
Yeah.
fun in that episode.
Is I just saved $8 like truly a new Rockstars?
It's
Even
just
maybe
us.
just a break room niche.
Yeah,
type joke?
I'm the only one that cares about that line, but it
just
is
us.
great. They put it in the trailer.
It's so good.
I just saved $8. What an icon. Michael Douglas. What
Like,
an icon.
got to be one of the richest people in the world.
Gotta be one of the richest people.
I would love a timeline of like, so Hank Pym has beef with Howard Stark and Bill Foster. I want a timeline of like, when did they get along? And like,
Yes, what was
when
it?
did they fall out?
It was before his
What-
wife got sent to the quantum realm.
What was the Christmas party like before all that? Like them getting drunk together, they shrinking and growing while drunk.
Because Bill Foster's mad at Hank for that place blowing up, right? Or he was mad at him before that.
He was already mad before.
He was mad before that.
Because we know Howard and Hank got along from the Endgame flashback when Tony goes back,
Yeah.
Yes.
right? And he sees his father alive because they're working together.
They worked in like
Yeah,
SSR
yeah, Howard
before
and
with
Hank got on,
SSR
yeah.
before with Shield.
Yeah.
Yeah, other moments.
Should we
Oh,
just
I like
kinda
the,
launch into a nice Q&A?
Q&A? Yeah.
Q&A?
Good night, let's do it.
Spidey Sensei says, and this is interesting because I saw the same thing. Saw something about a what if episode concept. This goes back to Brandon, what you were saying about AC Bradley sort of saying like, well, we wrote this during COVID.
Oh, yeah,
We don't want to
yeah.
be so depressing. One of the things that they ended up shelving was she was calling it sort of a cross between Spider-Man meets Children of Men.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was all the details that they gave. I thought that would be fascinating. What is the Children of Men element that you think they brought in? Because
I mean,
if you're unfamiliar with Children of Men,
Yeah.
it's a story where humanity, like they stop. Women are not able to give birth anymore.
Yeah,
to
or
the
no,
oldest
and
person.
not only like no reproduction of any
Yeah,
kind.
there's no new
lab
people
grown
born.
or anything like that. Yeah, so there's
the youngest
basically
person alive is 18, and they die in the prologue. And then the spoilers for a movie that came out 20 years ago. Great movie.
How dare you?
One of the things is they have to transport this young woman who is pregnant
Yeah.
from like point A to point B.
Yeah, so that's interesting, and that you kind of just ruined the entire movie, John. But, it's a great movie, though. Go back and watch it. That freaking car chase sequence is a wonder. Anyways,
They copy it in Hawkeye, basically.
yeah, that's
that car
right.
chase sequence.
But yeah, like what could that have been with Peter? Where it's like, is this a dystopian future where it's literally the same thing, where like nobody can be born, and like Hawkeye basically, Peter has to be the Clive Owen.
Yeah, I'm sure they
character.
referenced Children of Men, but I bet it had nothing to do with children or anything like that. It was more that probably it's like a dystopian future where there's like a very harsh government.
Yes.
And like
And-
Spider-Man's trying to be a good guy in the midst of like, how do I help?
With other spider people.
Yeah. How
probably.
do I help these people who are just searching for a new home?
And I think that's what we were talking before we recorded, like that, when we saw Red Skull on Mount Rushmore,
Right.
I want to see that episode. I think give me at least one or two what ifs that turn out terrible.
Yeah.
Right? Like
what if? Yeah, I mean, like, what if Loki succeeded in the first Avengers? What does that movie look like? Does Thanos even go after all the stones? Does he need to?
He was always going to go after Stones.
Yeah, but maybe this delays him for a little bit
What
because he
if-
likes Earth.
I want to know.
He likes the Mai Tai.
Give me what if Death actually flirted with Thanos?
Oh, okay.
What if Hela actually flirted with Thanos? Because
that's
remember, she's in the comics. The whole reason for those unfamiliar, the whole reason Thanos wants the stones is to impress Death.
Yeah.
That's it. He just trying, and then Death friend zones him, which a lot of fellas, we understand. You get friend zoned sometimes.
Everybody's been there.
You go out and you get 6 stones, and she be like, I don't like you. I like the dude with the faces like Freddy Krueger's nutsack. And so then she gets with Deadpool.
Do you think Freddy Krueger's nutsack looks better than his face?
He has a smooth nutsack, ironically.
Yeah, like, why would you say his face? You're assuming his nutsack looks even worse than his face?
He was a full bird victim, okay?
I'm just saying, how much worse can it get?
See,
I think a good nutsack already looks like a bird victim.
my testicles were scalded smooth. So
Scalded smooth.
My testicles were born in the fire. Bathed in it.
You're simply adopting the testicles. That was born with
I mean, unfortunately, this does dovetail into a question asked by the chat. What's your favorite nutsack in all of the movies and television? No.
who has the worst smelling nutsack of all
There you go.
It's Vision when he first comes out of that machine. He's naked.
Sarah Hatchadorian's asking, do you think that the machine that Steve goes into affected his downstairs region?
I mean, it's got to be a mess. It's all spaghetti noodles down there.
No,
You don't think it beefed them up?
You're saying like original MCU.
Yes, not the Hyper
I thought you were talking about the Hyper
stuff, but like
Super
Super
Soldier
Soldier. You think it like made him more well endowed?
I mean, every time I gotta admit something. Every time
got to have,
I read Super Soldier
that was
Serum,
not Sarah's question, by the way.
every time I read Super Soldier Serum, my disgusting brain Super Soldier sperm. I don't know why my
Not
brain does
semen,
that.
sperm.
Sperm. Well, because the M and the R.
Oh,
and
okay,
the-
I see.
But their question was, what is, if you could write an episode for season 3, what would it be? I think Jay had a great answer with Thanos and Death.
Yeah.
Have pitches.
Yeah.
What if
Yeah, I
that-
would love like what if Loki succeeded in the first Avengers movie. I mean, I've said it, I was kind of hinting at it before, but yeah, what if Howard Stark never died, right? Like, what if he wasn't assassinated? What does that world look like where he lives on?
Because also, you can do, even if it's not Death with the Thanos thing, what if Thanos actually loves someone? Because we find out Thanos loved Gamora.
Yeah, most Thanos is in we see in What If are nice dudes.
What if Thanos was in love, was like, you know
Yeah.
what? I've been about this the whole wrong way. Now he got a woman that got him glasses on. Thanos know how to cook, remember? Thanos can season
He
too.
just wanted to retire.
He just wanted to retire.
Farm to table.
He
Thanos
just
is doing.
wanted to retire. Thanos snapped and was like, well, you know what? I'm good. I ain't got to do nothing else. Y'all have a good day, okay? I don't need
What
nothing.
is he cooking?
A couple of people saying, just a reminder, Steve can do this all day. So yeah, probably.
Hey-oh!
Do you think I wonder if Captain Carter takes over the timeline that Steve went into in Endgame and she shows up? Do you think Steve's gonna be like, you're a little too muscly for me? Because remember, she got muscled up.
A little too much.
I do think Steve, MCU could have made Steve more of a piece of shit having been born in the 1930s.
Right.
Oh, you think
He's
was?
a problem. He's a
His
problem.
views of femininity are going to be a little antiquated.
Very
No,
much
because
so.
he's been living in modern times now.
What if Captain America was a racist?
Oh man, that would be.
That's the episode we'll never get, but that would be very fascinating.
That would be a.
We got a few more here. Do you guys think Bucky in the have you all seen the season 3 teaser?
Yeah.
No.
Jay, we might have to show you after the show.
Okay.
This person's asking, do you think Bucky in the teaser for season 3 is under Hydra control or in his own mind during the episode? For those of you who haven't seen it, it kind of reminded me of the opening of Indiana Jones and the temple, the Crystal Skull.
Yeah.
It's
Red Guardian.
Guardian and Bucky escaping.
Bill Foster,
As an agent,
He's just a
kind of-
guy.
like a agent of
He's the guy.
Shield. There's like a roadblock. They drive through it. They're chased. It's clearly set in the 80s.
Something like that.
What type of
Two
car
in
is
a
it?
car.
It's like a Pontiac Firebird type.
That is
car,
an 80s car.
Yeah.
I think.
So,
Well, I'm just judging by age.
so it's a little bit like, is Bucky still?
Yeah, do we think? I assume that's like they're on their first mission in the U.S. or whatever. And he's getting like, they're like sneaking into the U.S. to like do a mission.
See,
And
that'd
this is
be
how
fun,
Red
too.
Guardian gets installed in
That-
like Cleveland or
another
whatever.
series I wouldn't mind seeing. Brainwashed Bucky
Brainwashed
out
Bucky.
there doing hits.
Yeah.
You know?
Nah, but going at a diner getting something to eat in between hits, it was like, is he hungry? Like,
Yeah.
like Bucky don't have to eat.
Just Bucky going around, loving, killing, forgetting. Easy
Hell
stuff.
yeah, dude.
Easy
It's basically
stuff.
it's that Michael Fassbender Netflix movie, The Killer. Just that. And he botches some of them, and that's fun to watch.
That's fun. And they're like, boxcar.
A couple of people have like ticky-tacky, New Rockstars, please answer this questions, which is like Sarah Hatchadorian asking if Cohorty is also powered by the Tesseract, why her powers so different from Captain Marvel's powers.
Oh, that's easy. That's an easy solve.
What's that?
That was completely different.
Because hers were in a lake.
Yeah,
that's the lake.
Hers were like a Tesseract like lands from Asgard into the lake, makes the lake magical.
No, it
creates
broke open,
place.
remember?
creates like a portal
Yep.
that has a whole pocket dimension where just being there imbues you with powers.
Well, and he even said, I'm sorry, the gentleman that's kind of
Rocks,
he was like, we consume it here.
Yeah,
It's in
yeah.
the water and the food, and that affects us
yeah,
differently.
Captain
I like that idea.
Marvel had an experimental engine explode
In a
and, like,
face.
Yeah, and it like gave her powers that way. It's also the same as like the Hulk, right? The serum affects Bruce Banner differently than it affects
Steve.
Abomination or
Abomination or his
She-Hulk.
cousin,
And Steve, because
and
technically,
that's a super soldier.
Yes,
Yeah.
he's technically the super
He was
soldier
different
serum.
than Red Skull because he
Yep.
had a good heart. And Vita Rays.
Which
introduce
everybody
the
keeps
Vita
forgetting
Rays
about
before.
Vita
We
Rays.
gotta
That is
have
the
Vita
only
Rays.
reason you have Captain America. There's
Yeah.
a Vita Rays.
Yeah. Plus, he was a virgin, which makes you a better
Man,
soldier.
listen, if you want to save the world, ladies and gentlemen, be a virgin.
That's right.
Now, in other words, none of us on this panel are saving
Before
the
you
world.
get the super soldier serum, be a virgin.
After
Then
you
he
get
got
the
it.
super soldier,
Then he got
after
it.
you get the super soldier serum, go bust it open.
This is interesting. I mean, now we know that the Watcher is sort of aware of Loki and Loki's probable standing in
Sure,
the
sure.
in the multiverse. How much do you think Loki? This is from Kobe-Wan Kenobi. How much do you think Loki and the Watcher work together or know each other? Are they going to the same like we know everything in the universe mixers or?
Mixer.
But again, I think Loki got us stories is tied to just like the 616 and its timelines. And maybe the Watcher pops in to be like, hey, shit's
But
getting wild out
haven't
there.
we all kind of decided that timelines and universes are the same thing? And theoretically,
No.
that means that Loki is sitting outside and observing all universes.
I don't think he can see all universes.
That's what we were just saying earlier. Were you paying attention to the show?
Because everything we saw in the Loki series is just branch timelines
Right.
of one universe. It was that one circle.
And I don't
that
think
one
Loki knows
universe.
about other universes and things like that just yet. Like the Watcher knows about everything. Loki is just now finding out, yo, this loom is all these different things. He's just now learning what these things are. So he wouldn't just be like, yo, there was a He Who Remains. And then there's this big bulbous head ass dude who's transparent evidently. And you keep seeing him and hearing him. He doesn't know about him just yet. But now he probably knows about him because the Watcher was like, hey, welcome to the club.
Yeah, I gotta tell you a lot of shit.
I'll tell
I've
you
seen
a lot.
some stuff.
I've seen some shit.
You're gonna watch some stories? I've seen some fucking stories. Oh man, some of them are doomed to die, and you can't do a thing about it.
watched millions of people's die.
They cry and they scream, and the babies are dying. Oh God, it's awful. You gonna shave your head or what? We all shave our heads around here. It's
Just a couple more here. Kobe-Wan Kenobi again. What did everyone think of Captain Carter getting other multiverse people's weapons? We saw her with the Infinity armor, whatever that was called. We saw her with Hela's headdress.
Gungnir.
I think a couple swords or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
It was cool. Again, in a fun. I mean, we all popped when Captain grabbed the Mjolnir in Endgame, right?
Yeah.
Like it's kind of a meta version of that. And it's like, what a great way to heighten this. Like, oh, the most powerful stranger. Well, you need the most powerful. And again, she had all those weapons, and he's still kind of like
Still be there.
down, which is
Well, he's
great.
absorbed thousands of different villains throughout
Like
different multiverses.
he's had so many demons and everything. He was more than a bad boy record label, and it was like,
Got him.
Topical.
got it. I knew I was getting me a Diddy reference in here somehow. Getting me a Diddy joke in. But no, Strange has all these different demons and powers, which I honestly, and I don't not trying to be facetious, thought he was gonna almost be a Mephisto type thing when he turned into his demon
Yeah.
form.
Yeah.
The grief.
Yeah, he's the grief monster.
And in the end, right, he kind of has to defeat himself. Like, Real Strange comes out and like
Right.
holds back. I loved that image of like the monster is like reaching up and it's gonna grab Peggy or whoever, and like Real Strange comes out and it's like one of his hands has to hold back.
It's very
his other
Aliens
hand.
3. Spoiler alert. When Ripley has the alien burst out of her and she grabs it and goes into the fire. And we thought it was all done. And then they did Alien
So
Resurrection.
there's been a lot more. There's a new Alien coming out this year.
There's a TV series.
Speaking of
that
things,
series is what you're talking about?
No,
is it a series?
There's both things kind of.
the Fede Alvarez, is that a movie or a series, John?
There is a movie.
Ridley Scott is doing a movie. He's
And
doing
there's a
another
series
Aliens
as
movies,
well.
and that was like the Neil Blomkamp.
Yeah, there's a
wasn't it?
series.
Well, but
well.
the thing coming out this year is not Ridley Scott. It's Fede Alvarez, isn't it?
Fuck
Anyways,
is that movie?
it's not an alien show. It's a Marvel show.
Alien Romulus.
That's it.
Yeah.
Which, speaking of Marvel things coming out this year, supposedly we're getting 3 Marvel animated series this year. We're getting X-Men 97 sometime soon. We still don't have a date, but we're anticipating the next few months. Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, previously known as Spider-Man freshman year.
Right here.
And supposedly, that we just learned that it existed recently, Eyes of Wakanda is coming out this year, which is really cool. We're going to have a ton of animation in our near future.
All this stuff we were probably going to get last year. Remember, X-Men 97 was supposed to be last year.
Yeah.
Spider-Man freshman year is supposed to be last year. Agatha, which has now been probably pushed to either the end of the year, all these things. Basically, Marvel is filling in the gaps from not having movies. They're just filling in the gaps that they were supposed to have movies. So it's like, all right, let's place all this in. We know we can't get the same type of eyes that we would have had with a feature film. Let's just bring everybody to Disney Plus.
And you know, as this kind of current age of streaming, places like Disney Plus and HBO Max have like struggled to be like, what is streaming content versus theatrical content versus cable content versus whatever. And you know, we saw with kind of the first wave of MCU Disney Plus series like Falcon Winter Soldier and WandaVision and Loki season 1, they're just like, oh, we'll just make a movie and split it up into 6 or 8 episodes. We'll spend a ton of money. We'll get movie stars and people you know from movies and do it. And it's like, that was successful. We enjoyed those. Didn't make any money for Disney Plus, right? They've lost money every quarter that the streaming platform has been out there. So they're trying to recalibrate. And maybe that means like a future with more animated content, a little less live action that tends to be more expensive to make than the animated stuff. Maybe. And like, maybe they can tell like a broader range, different stories, weirder stories.
But I think it just takes longer with animation. I think that's the only difference.
Well, yeah, and they clearly haven't figured it out yet. Where it's like we had to hold an episode because it wasn't finished, and
right. You got all this stuff. You got we have the ideas.
Yeah.
We have the scripts. Now you got to get the storyboard artists. You got to get all that. Then you have to get the artists to draw it up, the animations and everything.
They've done this like anthology stuff with What If, but can they do a straight story over multiple episodes that's not jumping around?
They haven't tried to do that.
Just telling one story. You know, we've kind of talked about this in The Office, but like I'd like to see a more variation of like character design and stuff. You know, a lot of What If looks great. Some of it looks like, who is this person? I can't even.
Also,
tell
we got to
who it
remember
is.
the majority of the first 2 seasons of What If were all done at the same time.
Yeah, they did it like all at
They
once.
don't, because that's the thing people forget. We see 2 seasons, we're like, oh, when did they shoot this? And you're like, you forget they shot all of this together. That's how long everything takes. So it's like you're not going to get from idea to TV in 18 months, 24 months.
Yeah.
And I'm excited for this year. We don't know. I guess we saw some footage of Eyes of Wakanda, and its style looks a little bit
Very
more
different. Yeah.
Yeah.
All of the Marvel animated shows are unique styles.
Different style, which is great.
X-Men 97 is like very similar to.
Yeah, they're trying to
look
keep
back
that
at
look.
the original
but
look.
they're all very different. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I'm excited to see, to your point about like character design, them exploring, and like maybe that even means like the structure of the episodes and like the design of the series looks a little different.
Yeah, and it sounds like Eyes of Wakanda is like the past a little. It's kind of like the Dora Milaje doing these like missions to protect vibranium and protect like Wakanda's secret. So like that could be fun and have a lot of potential to have like cameos of old heroes that you know we've only heard about, or like Isaiah Bradley, or like stuff like that, like dealing with Thor way before you know any of the events we know in the MCU or something like that. That could be really fun. But again, I don't know if that's going to be an anthology show where it's like every episode stands on its own.
Right.
They're going to try and tell like one full complete story. We'll see. And you know, especially when you have things like, you know, Into the Spider-Verse, Across the Spider-Verse, like incredible animation. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles this year was so good.
The bar has been raised.
Yeah, I would like. Can Marvel pull off like an animated movie to that level? I don't know.
But you gotta remember, those are like 3-4 different styles of animation on top of each other. You know, and that's something that we knew. Look, Across the Spider-Verse took years.
Right.
Teenage Mutant Turtles took years to do. even if you do know how to do it now, it's still a process.
Yeah.
So I mean, they could do it, but I think we would be putting so much. That would put so much unnecessary pressure on the studio by this story has to be this way. And then if it doesn't connect to anything, if it's just a what if story, right? People are like, well, what was the point? Because you're gonna have a bunch of those. Well, this doesn't connect to the greater MCU. What's the point? So.
Yeah, it's going to be a really interesting year for animated shows. And then maybe, when are we supposed to get What If Season 3? Next year?
A lot of debate about that in the comments. Some people are thinking summer. We had a poll. It was split between 2025 and summer 2024. I will remind people that the tease that we saw was originally an episode intended for season 2, which is why they had so much of it done.
Yeah.
I'll also remind people that Marvel sent out a little, here's what we're doing in 2024 email, and it did not include What If season.
I think there's zero chance we get it this year. Also, Marvel has never done, even things that we've gotten 2 seasons of have never been back-to-back years.
Not so far.
Or even like Star Wars stuff or whatever, right? Like, I guess maybe they did Mando seasons.
Mando was like,
Mando was,
that's it.
Yeah.
But we're excited whenever we get it.
Yeah.
Hopefully before I'm dead, which could be any minute now. Let's be honest. What if Zach lives until What If Season 3?
Whoa, what if?
Hey,
This
we don't know.
got dark real.
We don't know. None of us
If he
know.
does, I lose $100.
Every he's got 2024 in the Deadpool.
That's right.
Every moment is precious, and we think every viewer is precious too.
Yeah.
That's our motto here at Breakroom.
It's not.
That's our motto.
It is now, John.
We say it every show, John.
Jesus, John.
Every person is precious.
Every person's precious. Every viewer is precious. So we thank you all so much for watching here on the Breakroom YouTube channel. We thank you for watching on Twitch if you've been with us on Twitch. Thank you to Jay Washington and Brandon Barrick for joining me here.
Thanks.
Be sure to stick around this week. We've got some other fun Breakroom content coming out. Producer Evan will continue to work remotely from the garbage bag state of New Jersey. Find him, folks. We gotta bring him back.
Stop.
But
Is there a good trail from New Jersey to Manitoba?
oh yeah,
Oh, there's some great-
It's treacherous.
Highway 42B. Yeah, I don't know. But most importantly, have yourself a wonderful day. A good 2024.
Yeah,
everybody.
have a great
Happy New Year.
2024.
Thank you so much.
Bye.